Okay, so let's dive into the omens of the Golden Age and the omens of the Dark Age. That was beautifully cinematic, totally by accident. Did not mean for that to happen. Um, I'm just going to stop recording myself because it doesn't want to work. Okay, so now lighting. Okay, and then the lighting comes back. What a pain in the ass. All right, whatever. It doesn't matter. You're not here to see my face. You're here to learn about Le Golden Age. So what we have here, I'm actually going to take these lucidity off for a sec. So this is the sky right here. This is the stars. And these four dots, this big orange one here, red one, blue one, and the black one, these are the equinoxes and the solstices. So the summer solstice, winter solstice, spring equinox, autumn equinox. This is a chart for March 21st, 2022. I've taken the planets off. They would look like this. You can see it's sunset on the spring equinox. This is, well, it's just the easiest way to show it in the chart. Now, these are the most important points. This is, okay, so we all know this, right? If we're talking about golden ages. Jesus. The spring equinox, the summer solstice, winter solstice, and autumn equinox, they precess, they turn backwards. I know, a complicated word, don't worry about that. It's just lingo. So they apparently, actually what's, Jesus Christ, it's so complicated, but apparently in the sky, in the stars, the equinoxes and solstices shift backwards very, very, very slowly. It takes 2,500 years for this to move through one sign. So as you can see, the orange dot is right at the end of Pisces, so it moves backwards. So in 500 years, this equinox will be in Aquarius rather than in Pisces. And so wherever the spring equinox is the ruler of that age. And here it's in Pisces, which is the, yeah. And Pisces is about deceit and lies and being a victim, being chained, being imprisoned, being in bondage, having doubts, a very karmic sign with a lot of, where a lot of debts are paid. Yeah, it's a very difficult sign, actually. Pisces, very, very difficult. So we as a Earth have been going through that for 2,000 years. And actually a bit more than 2,000 years, but you'll see, we'll go through these different ages. So spring equinox is the main one. And then the second most important is the summer solstice. So you can see the summer solstice is right next to a bright star at the moment, right next to Betelgeuse here. And Menkalinan, not so powerful, but Betelgeuse is very, very bright. And it's a very nasty star. It's very warlike, very aggressive, very argumentative. It's a star of liars and thieves, but also just in general, it's a star of war, of Mars. It's under Mars, basically. It's a bright red star under Mars. You get the feeling of it. It's not the most lovely. I really wish that camera would stop adjusting lighting. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm going to stop focusing on it now. Interestingly enough, the autumn equinox here, the blue one, it's in the wing of Virgo, which is not too bad, but it's in the cup. There's a constellation just here. You can kind of see its shape, called the Cup, the crater. And this constellation is about debauchery, getting drunk, partying, smoking, doing drugs. So this is, yeah, one of the themes of our age. Anyway, so so it's in Pisces. Pisces is a bad sign in general. Pisces is a bad sign, and so is Gemini. Actually, Gemini is also a bad sign because they're both filled with the stars of liars. Betelgeuse, Procyon, Pollux, these are all bad stars. Gemini has some other things going on, more complicated, I won't explain. And Pisces as well. Alpheratz, Algenib, Sheap, Pegasus, Andromeda, these are all bad stars. The whale is here, Cetus, the sea monster. So that's also really, really nasty. So they're filled with these bad, objectively bad positions. So that's why the last age has been so horrendous in terms of consciousness. So when do we come out of this? I will show you. So if you see, it says here 4:54, 4 degrees, 54 minutes. So there's 4 degrees and 54 minutes of Pisces left. This is going to be something like the average precession. It moves backwards 72 years for 1 degree. And that's the length of a human life, right? So every being is connected to a star. And so every time a person is born, 72 years later, the equinoxes precess 1 degree, the stars change their tropical positions, and that person dies. Those people die because their star is no longer there. So so it'll be about 72 times 5, something like that, which is like 350 years. So that'll be 2372, something like that. Look at that, 0 Pisces. And if we go 2375, boom, it dips into Aquarius in the year, I think it's probably more like 2374. The spring equinox dips into Aquarius. Now, why is this a good thing, right? We need to understand the principle. Why is this a good thing? Obviously, first of all, it's a masculine sign, so this is good. The feminine signs are bad. They're downward trending. They're have vice. They are Pisces. The dual signs are usually more difficult, and so that's part of it. Also, the stars in Aquarius. Aquarius has 2 spiritual stars. One of them is a royal star, Fomalhaut. So this is a very good sign for the spirituality. And just so everyone knows, I'll put this in the description, but I'm using the Fagin Allen sidereal zodiac. So this is the zodiac that the ancients used, the ancient Greeks especially used, but all of them used this zodiac. So these are very good things already. The bright stars, masculine sign. It's an air sign, so it will be about inventiveness, intelligence, things like that. But what's most significant, this is kind of a crash course. I have a longer course on this on my website, which is that this is a sacred degree. There is a sacred degree in Aquarius. There's 7 sacred degrees, but they're in 4 different signs. They're in Taurus, Leo, Scorpio, and Aquarius. So notice that in Gemini, Pisces, there's no sacred zones. There's 1 bright star in Gemini, which is Sirius, but that's not really enough to offset the rest of what's going on. And there's no sacred zone. Whereas starting in 350 years, the spring equinox enters the sign of a sacred degree. And the summer solstice enters Taurus, where Taurus is actually the most holy sign. It's the holiest of holies, really. Yeah. So this is also very, very good. Now, so this sacred degree is part of what creates the golden age, the different golden ages, of course. So there's different types of golden ages as well. And this golden age will start in 2375 and last for 2,500 years, or yeah, 2,500 years. And or 2,000 years. I can't even remember anymore. We'll check it. We'll find out. And its peak will be when the spring equinox reaches the sacred degree. Okay, so where is the sacred degree? It is in this water here, this artistic design where Aquarius pours the water down onto the zodiac. These are the divine waters of life. And they're about divine inspiration, artistic. This will be a very artistic age, actually. For the next 2,500 years will be very artistic. Of course, right now it's not. Right now we're in the shit when it comes to art. Like, this is the worst of the worst that it gets. But this will be very artistic because Taurus is also about arts, art, love, sex, pleasure, money, and abundance, and friendship as well, actually, Venus. But also this is divinely inspired art. So this will be a very artistic age. I'm kind of looking forward to that. That's really exciting. And so this sacred degree is at about 20 degrees of Babylonian Aquarius, which is something like, hold on, at the moment, it will be 15 degrees of tropical Pisces. This is a sacred zone. I do have a lecture on that on my website under the sacred degrees of Hermes. It's like $10 or $15, I think. I think if you're American, it's $10. So yeah, if you're interested in that, snag that bad boy. I'll put a link down in the description as well. Okay, so the signs with the sacred degrees get their power. This is really when, how I would say, the golden age begins using this system. I know there's other systems, but I don't understand them. I haven't studied them. I don't really want to study them as such because this one works really, 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 really well. This is what this system is saying about it. Yeah, and so what you can think of is right now, all the changes that we're going through is the preparation for the golden age, which kind of really starts to kick off in 23, 74, 75. Yeah, very, very interesting stuff. And the other sacred zone that's activated is the horns of the bull, the horns of Taurus here, from Aldebaran, from 15 Taurus or 10 Gemini to the end of Taurus, 30 Taurus or 25 Gemini, or yeah, 25 Gemini, yeah, tropical 25 Gemini, I mean. So yeah, so that'll be very, very, very cool. I won't go on too much about that. There's a lot of details here that I could go into. Probably don't want to waste too much time. The best thing for us will be to look at when was the previous golden age. So we've had this dark age when the spring equinox has been going through Pisces here. You see how this is like a rope between the fissures. This symbolizes captivity, being bound up, being chained and imprisoned, and being a victim. So yeah, people who have this area very powerful in a chart, as well as a lot of other bad aspects, will be captives at some point in their life. Either they'll be put in prison, captive by the police, or it'll show in the chart what it is. Like, yeah, I'm not going to tell any stories, but I know quite a few personal stories with this zone where people have been either arrested or kidnapped, or some horrible thing happens, So, okay. So all of Pisces is bad. Okay, so let's go to the birth of Jesus Christ. March 21st, the year 0. One sec. Check, actually. I just want to double check something. Refresh that. Oh, okay. It's not exactly as I remember. But it's pretty close. So it's not quite the birth of Jesus. But here in 70 BC. So this is a time to do a little bit of historical research on, because I'll put these degrees on again. If you notice, it's kind of hard to see actually. But if you notice, there's these purple dots around this area, 4 purple dots just here around the start of Aries. This is the start of Babylonian Aries. And there's no other purple dots on the zodiac anywhere else. And these are 4 degrees, the first 4 degrees of the whole zodiac. It's very peculiar and interesting topic to research. 4 degrees, which Hermes calls pure, or Latin is sinceri, or sinceri, I don't know how you would pronounce it, but sinceri, which means unwounded or pure. It has this spiritual connotation that they're sacred, very sacred. And my thinking is this is another sacred zone. So we have the 4 in those 4 signs, and this is the 5th sacred zone. Now this is an interesting time period because this is actually when the old religion was dying. It was the old religion was really beginning to die, and we had, I would say in this period, there were the last few divine kings, the last of the divine kings. So my favorite being, of course, Emperor Julian of Rome. This was the last little period before the 3 Kingdoms era began in China, which was huge upheaval and a time of great chaos, and where the spiritual foundation was lost. Same thing in Europe, where the Rome took over, like fully took over, and then you'll see. So Rome kind of has already taken over actually at this point around the birth of Christ, which is very interesting to know. And then Christianity fully takes over somewhere around 350 or whatever it is. I can't remember. 300. I guess wow, this is, yeah, it was about, I think it was 330 or something, around 330 AD, where Christianity became the official religion of Rome. And that is right after the spring equinox. I'll take these degrees off. Shifted back into Pisces. You see it's 28 degrees and 53 minutes of Pisces. So it's 1 degree in, which is pretty interesting. Let's find the date when it would be something like 230. This was when it shifted fully. So this was, yeah. And around this time as well, before it shifted into Pisces, and after actually, from about, geez, when was it? About the, I think it was about 300 AD, there was the Neoplatonists, and geez, I'm definitely getting my timelines wrong here, but it was this kind of period. Obviously, I don't necessarily even trust historical records. There was clearly a lot more going on. The mystery schools were still around, basically, until 600 AD, and then it kind of got wiped out. But God, the whole thing's so complicated. This is a topic for really big study. I'm just doing a preliminary overview here. So yeah, so that's really interesting, this era of chaos that began, and when all of the old religions were persecuted in some way, especially in Europe. Well, I know, especially in Europe. I think the same thing happened in Asia as well, around this time. So, but I'm not an expert on that. So I'm not even an expert on European history. So I just know a little bit. So yeah, there was this mini golden age around the time of Alexander the Great. And this is when, sorry, I know this is getting really rambly and esoteric, but we're going deep. We're going deep. This is for the people who really want the truth. So this is at about in the 8th degree of Aries. When the spring equinox enters the 8th degree of Aries, you can see here, there's these 4 purple dots, and then after them 4 yellow ones, which are the bright, the shining degrees. And so this is pretty much the birthday of Alexander the Great, minus 353 or 356 is his birthday, which is right when it shifted into these bright degrees. And of course, we know Alexander revived the dying Mesopotamian tradition, which was what I practice, which is the true science of the sky, the original mystery schools. And that started a miniature golden age of the Hellenistic period for a few hundred years. And then Rome came, and destroyed the whole thing. Or you could say figuratively, Jesus came and destroyed the whole thing. Of course, not the real Jesus. Okay, so this is the mini golden age, the most recent mini golden age. And then when was the last golden age? And I mean the big one that lasted thousands of years. It was actually, hold on, I remember I did this with some friends last night. It was around here. So you can see, look at this, the summer solstice is right in the sacred zone of Leo, the sacred degree with Regulus, the star of the king. So this was a time of the divine kings, the holy kings. And you'll see this in ancient scriptures, ancient texts, in Confucianism, it's less so in Neoplatonism that I can think of, but it is there. There's pieces of it there, and also there in Buddhism. In Buddhism as well, they talk about how in the ancient times. So for them, this was like 500 BC or something. They're ancient, so thousands of years before 500 BC, right? And they talk about these divine kings, how there were kings of great virtue who were to be looked up to, who were to be honored and respected as saints as well as kings, not just rulers, but also as saints. And that was here when the spring equinox was in Taurus and the summer solstice was in Leo with the star of the king, Regulus, star of the divine king is Regulus. Also, we can think figuratively here what is going on? So in the Babylonian calendar, the day starts, hold on, why is it? Wow, that's really far. That's kind of weird. The day starts at sunset. And what you'll see here, if this was accurate, is that when the sun sets on the spring equinox, in this age, I'll put it right here. Boom. God, I need to take all those other planets off. Okay, well, it's the sun's on the sunset there. You can imagine that. Just above it is the horns of Taurus and Aldebaran. So yeah, this is one of the signs of the golden age, when the horns, this is actually the sign of the end of the golden age, actually, because it's disappearing, but nevertheless, the golden age. So this is very powerful. And this golden age would have lasted, as I said, about 2,500 years. So we looked at the sunset. Here, the spring equinox is in Gemini, which is actually not, well, it is where I want it to be. Not quite, though. Let's just check here. Here we go. Spring equinox is exactly with the star Sirius, the brightest star in the sky. And I'll put the spring equinox on the rising point. Whoops. So imagine the sunrise is right with the spring equinox here. And imagine you're standing in the middle of this chart watching this horizon, which is here, which is this area here. And well, actually, we're already, don't worry about that spatial shit, that's complicated. Too difficult for me to explain. We're watching the sunrise, and just before the sun rises, you see the horns of Taurus appearing above the sunrise. So this is the birth of the golden age, is right here in this time, 5,500 BC. One of the births of the golden age, but this is a very significant, and this lasted for thousands of years, as we've seen, for about 3,500, 4,000 years, I think. About that long. And then it entered Aries, and things began to decline, because again, Aries has no sacred degree, no bright stars, apart from this small zone here. And there was war. This was a time of destruction where things were destroyed, because this is Mars. Yeah. Also, when the summer solstice is in Cancer is a bad time as well. Cancer is another bad sign. So, okay, so there is the signs of the golden age. Sirius with the rise of Aldebaran on the spring equinox. Yeah. The heliacal rise. So Aldebaran being the luckiest star. All right. Jesus Christ. I hope you guys are kind of staying with me a little bit, because there's a lot to process here. But it's better that you know it so that you can integrate it over time. All right, so maybe some of you guys recognize this chart. This is the chart of our good friends, the US of A. And now these guys were insanely good astrologers, unbelievably good astrologers. There's very little that I can criticize about this chart. This is the birth chart for the USA. Of course, we could also look at the second, there's like a second sort of birth chart that we can look at, which would have been after the Civil War. But I'm not going to dive too deeply into that. This will do for now. And this is such a great chart because the malefics, Mars and Saturn, are aspecting, the only aspects they're making are trines. So they're not actually, apart from actually, I think the Sun is square Saturn, which is the only problematic piece here. But that's really, compared to the rest of it, it's nothing. So the moon has the trine. So in a nighttime chart, this is a night chart, the sun is below the horizon here. In a night chart, Saturn and the moon are the worst combination. This is really tough combination, Saturn and the moon in a night chart. So what do the fathers do? Luckily, the moon is in a very strong trine with Saturn. And it's a very powerful bright moon. It's also making a trine with Mars in the first house. So that's why America is such a military power, because of Mars, a nighttime Mars. If this was a day Mars in the first house, they would just get destroyed. But it's a night Mars, and that makes very powerful military. So anyway, so this is just some basic astrology that you guys can all relate to. Super easy to understand. Here, however, if let's take off some of this stuff a little bit. Look who's rising. The eye of the bull. This is the luckiest of all the lucky stars, exact conjunction with the ascendant. Not only that, the sun is all the way down here. So this is just before sunrise, when the horns of the bull are visible rising before sunrise. So this is the golden age, or this is a sign of the golden age. Aldebaran is wealth. So that's what this signifies, a very, very wealthy country. So it's in the ascendant and rising before the sun. And this is actually July 4th is the day of the rise of Aldebaran. When you go out, you watch the sunrise, and for the first time, for the whole year, the first time you will see Aldebaran for about a couple of minutes, or maybe even seconds, just before sunrise. And this is the most powerful day of the year because Aldebaran is the luckiest of the lucky stars. And so the founding fathers knew this very, very, very well. And here, and we can see, look how they managed to change the whole world stage with this knowledge. This is actually an unbelievably good chart. Jupiter is in a morning first, so appearing in exaltation. So this also adds to the wealth because it's in the second house. Venus is also there. Fucking hell, this is a crazy chart. But yeah, the main thing to understand is Aldebaran, and the sun is with Sirius, a couple of degrees or 1 degree or something away from Sirius, right? So this is exactly what was happening in the Golden Age. The spring equinox was with Sirius, and Aldebaran was rising on the spring equinox for the first time. And this is the golden age. So this is why America is so powerful, because they had the best astrologers working for them, or well, they were the best astrologers. And they would have known Latin, Greek, probably Arabic, all those things. So anyway, here you go with the golden age. So what about the chart of the dark age? It's actually the opposite. It's when Scorpio rises in the crown of the rising sun, which is when the spring equinox is here in the bow of Sagittarius. I'm about to really pop off some quick astro knowledge right now. So if you can't keep up, don't worry about it. Just let it imprint into your brain and you can come back later. It takes a little while to sort of let this stuff really sink in. Let's see, how many years will this be? I think it's something like 6,500. Whoops. It's more, Jesus, 8,500. 8,000. Okay, so this is where, so the sunrise spring equinox is here, this orange dot. Whoops. Here's the sunrise. And just before the sunrise, you see Scorpio rising, the sign of the dark forces, Scorpio. And not only this, what's even more interesting is this area where the spring equinox is, the bow of Sagittarius, it has a specific name. It's a decan. It's a 10-degree division, which belongs to a divinity that the Greeks called loimos. I could get it out actually and have a look, but yeah, it's loimos is the English pronunciation. Can't remember how they pronounce it in Greek. Yeah, no idea. Anyway, so loimos, it means the one who sends the plague, the one who sends diseases. And this is one of the titles of the divinity Apollo. Oops, it's backwards. Okay, terrible. It's like swinging. Yeah, it's not even focusing on it. All right, whatever. It doesn't matter. You get the idea. Now, Apollo is God. Apollo is God Almighty. And he sends the plague as punishment for the sins of mankind. And of course, it's not Apollo who sends the plague, it's mankind who sends it to themselves by their dumb practices. Apollo wants everyone to be forgiven. However, I just find this really fascinating that Apollo is here with the bow, right? He sends the plague with his arrow, his great arrow of disease. He sends to mankind on the rise of Scorpio on the spring equinox in 8,000 AD. And this is in the Bible, all of it. Everything that I've just described to you is in the Bible. It says that in the Revelations, it says in the, talks about the, all these weird things happening, but it talks about when one of the seals is broken, there is a plague of locusts. Okay, so a plague. Apollo sends the plague. A plague of locusts is unleashed. And these locusts sting mankind as if they were scorpions. Doesn't get more obvious than that, right? So the plague linking to Apollo, the scorpions linking to Scorpio. Now, not only that, it gets even more on the nose. The Bible literally says the one who sends this plague, the Hebrews call him Abaddon. The Greeks call him Apollyon, or what's really more accurate, Apollon. So it's God himself who sends the plague. And it's here in the sky. It's all astrotheology. This is really, really advanced stuff. This is like, holy shit, if you're learning this, you're on some weird ass path, and I fucking love you for it, because this is unbelievably advanced stuff. There's probably only, I don't even know if anybody other than me has noticed this and pulled these pieces together. This is some next level astrotheology, really next level astrotheology. I don't even share it that often because it's just so fucking complicated and so rare. Like, nobody knows that this area belongs to Apollo, and nobody knows that part of the Revelations that talks about Apollo. It's probably the only part of the Revelations that talks about Apollyon. And just for your reference, Apollo is Jesus Christ as well. Apollo is Jesus Christ. He's not different. He is Jesus Christ. So when it says Apollyon sends the plague, it means Jesus Christ sends the plague. And Jesus Christ is the one who does that. So I'm going to stop sharing now, and you can see this terrible, terrible lighting again. It just doesn't want to absorb the light properly. It's super irritating. Anyway, I'll stop bitching about it now. Look at that. As soon as I stop bitching, very happy with that. Yeah, so I hope you enjoyed that. That was a lot. I know that was a lot of information. Very quickly, it's a lot of references to other things, and this is the advanced course essentially. You definitely don't want to start here. You probably need a few years of astrology and astrotheology behind you before you can kind of get this stuff. But that's fine. Don't worry about it. This is the sacred knowledge. The time has come for the veils to be lifted. And I hope that Apollon has blessed you as much as he has blessed me with this sacred knowledge. And I will see you guys in the next one at the Temple of Hermes. I should tagline that, something about the temple. Anyway, and I'll get Jacob back on as well to do something. We just have some ups and downs with coordinations. Also, if you would like to get a reading, check out the link in my bio. I have lots of options. They start from $0. I think the cheapest personalized reading, which is really high quality, that I offer is $50, 50 Australian dollars. And the most expensive is 250 Australian dollars. And there's a whole range in between there. So whatever your budget is, there's something for you on my website. And I look forward to working with you in the future. Amon Ra.